Round 2. Another undercover video digs deeper into Planned Parenthood's alleged sale of infant organs. Sweet 16. Ohio Governor John Kasich now the 16th Republican to join the 2016 presidential race. Familiar face. Father Robert Barron among 3 new auxiliary bishops for the Los Angeles Archdiocese. And miraculous escape. An Australian surfer survives a shark attack unscathed. Those stories and more on EWTN News Nightly for Tuesday, July 21st, 2015. Good evening from Washington. Thank you for joining us. I'm Brian Patrick with your news now. A second Planned Parenthood undercover video is released today. In it, a Planned Parenthood senior executive allegedly negotiates prices of aborted baby body parts. Catherine Szeltner reports.
Brian, the Center for Medical Progress is behind the undercover investigations. It says this video is proof. Planned Parenthood uses partial birth abortions to profit from the sale of baby parts.
The allegation that Planned Parenthood profits in any way from tissue donation is not true.
5 days ago, Planned Parenthood President Cecile Richards denied the group makes money from selling baby parts. But today, new undercover video appears to counter that claim.
We had to do anything. So there's compensation for this.
Footage captured this past February shows Dr. Mary Gatter meeting with the Center for Medical Progress. The Planned Parenthood executive appears to haggle over aborted baby parts.
What I want to know is what would work for you. Don't lowball it.
Okay.
Tell me what you really.
$75 a specimen.
You happy?
I've been at places that did 50 too.
Gatter gets very specific in the video.
I want a Lamborghini. I said I want a Lamborghini.
Buying or selling human body parts is a federal felony, and now conservative lawmakers say swift action is needed, despite the powerful Planned Parenthood lobby.
I don't care how much weight they sling around this town. The law is the law, and if they've broken the law, they must be held accountable.
Yesterday, Planned Parenthood responded to a congressional investigation into their group. They warn upcoming videos may include questions on the racial characteristics of tissue. 7 state governments and 3 congressional committees are now investigating Planned Parenthood. We expect the Center for Medical Progress to release at least one more undercover Planned Parenthood video in the coming days. Brian?
Thank you, Catherine. It's good to have Mollie Hemingway back with us, senior editor at the Federalist. How damaging is this latest video to Planned Parenthood?
Planned Parenthood has historically had very good public relations, gets good treatment in the media. They are in the public relations battle of their entire existence. People are seeing these videos, they're seeing how callously Planned Parenthood officials are talking about crushing on the bodies of unborn children, talking about trading parts for money, and it's going to be in the minds of people.
Do you think it brings any more clarity to the issue of whether they are selling or donating?
Right. In the first video, their defense was that, yes, they were talking very callously about harvesting these organs, but they didn't really make a profit from it. Here you have another Planned Parenthood official, saying she would have accepted $50, but she's really happy with $100 per specimen. There's no way to spin this as not haggling over the price of body parts from aborted children.
And in case you didn't pick it up on the video, she said, "I want a Lamborghini." I mean, she wants to make a bunch of money out of this.
Yeah, I mean, she was joking, but again, that's not funny given the topic.
Absolutely. So several states and Congress have now launched investigations. What possible outcomes might we see from these investigations?
Again, pro-lifers have argued for a long time that an abortion business like Planned Parenthood shouldn't receive $540 million a year in taxpayer funding. Now that seems like the least of the problems.
We're looking defunding at federal...
defunding Planned Parenthood at both the federal and state levels is certainly on the table in a way that it hasn't been before. But also, there are criminal questions in play, and there are a lot of questions that need to be answered, and that Planned Parenthood is going to have to be very clear and provide evidence of the claims that they're making that they're not breaking the law.
So how might you suggest that journalists kind of balance airing what's on these videos and doing their own research into this issue to try to make sure that what we're seeing is really what's going on?
Right. What we've seen thus far is that the media have been very reluctant to really dig into this story. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of questions that need to be answered about trafficking in the parts of humans, about how the industry is regulated, about the companies that benefit from it, how much profit is in play. I mean, we have so many questions about racial disparities in the tissue that's being sold. So an enterprising journalist could work on this story for years and not get to the bottom of it, but they need to start doing it pretty quickly.
Well, these first two videos have been very revealing. We understand there will be more. Do you expect them to reveal more?
I think it'll be interesting to see what comes up in the future. Already Planned Parenthood is warning that some of the videos make them look racist, and we'll see more about exactly what these undercover journalists have found.
And just this discussion really brings more attention to this partial birth abortion, this 20-week abortion ban that's been proposed.
That's one of the most interesting things, I think, that has come out of this. Planned Parenthood has argued very much against regulations that protect life in the womb after 5 months. Well, now we see that there's a financial incentive in play as well. That's a question that journalists have to address next time 20-week bans are in play.
Mollie Hemingway from the Federalist, thank you.
Thanks.
Some of the other stories our EWTN News Nightly team has been covering in today's world. Ohio Governor John Kasich makes it 16 Republicans officially running for president.
I am here to ask you for your prayers, for your support, for your efforts, because I have decided to run for President of the United States.
Kasich says his experience with the federal budget, national security, and running a state make him a unique candidate. He self-identifies as a strong, consistent, and committed believer in the sanctity of human life. He opposes redefining marriage, but has stated it's time to move on after last month's Supreme Court ruling. A new national poll shows Governor Kasich has a long way to go to win the GOP primary. Right now, Donald Trump holds a clear lead among Republicans. Wyatt Goolsby is at the White House tonight with more. Wyatt?
Brian, it's no secret Donald Trump sees himself as an outsider when it comes to the race for the White House. Even the Republican establishment has criticized Trump for many of his off-the-cuff statements. But even all of his controversial comments hasn't been able to knock him from the top.
Iowa's biggest newspaper is demanding Donald Trump, quote, pull the plug on his bloviating sideshow. It says he's making headlines not by provoking thought, but by provoking outrage. His Republican competitors agree.
I think we're on the verge of a good comeback here, and every time I turn around I'm being asked about Donald Trump saying one dumb thing after another, and I'm tired of it.
Trump is still not formally apologizing for his most recent controversy, criticizing Senator John McCain, a Vietnam vet and POW.
He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Do you agree with that?
He's a war hero because he was captured, okay? You can have, and I believe perhaps he's a war hero, but right now he said some very bad things about a lot of people.
Since those statements, Senator McCain has taken the high road, saying Trump owes an apology not to him, but to all veterans. Speaking in Washington today, McCain took a moment to give credit to prisoners of war.
I do not want to reopen the wounds of the war. I want us to celebrate our veterans, to move forward.
Trump continued to defend himself as he campaigned in South Carolina today. A Washington Post ABC News poll shows he's leading big at 24%, with Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker in second place and former Florida Governor Jeb Bush in third. But his numbers have seen a 4% drop in recent days.
Some political analysts predict that if Donald Trump continues to stir up controversy, he'll eventually lose more and more support. And there's many on both the left and the right who are still criticizing him and upset over Trump's comments last month, calling some Mexican immigrants rapists and criminals. Brian?
Wyatt Goolsby at the White House. Thank you, Wyatt. The father of a slain California woman urges Congress to reform immigration laws. Kate Steinle's alleged killer was able to stay in the U.S. despite several deportations.
We feel if Kate's law saves one daughter, one son, a mother, a father, Kate's death won't be in vain.
Jim Steinle testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee. He says Congress should close legal loopholes, allowing local authorities to decide if they'll cooperate with federal immigration officials. A mother also testified that her son was beaten to death by a classmate who illegally entered the U.S. as a 10-year-old.
My kids have changed, the surviving kids. Everything about us has changed. It's by the grace of God that in our broken hearts, We have a stream of memories of the loving relationship that we had with Joshua.
Congress is considering blocking federal funds to jurisdictions that resist turning over immigrants to federal authorities. Pope Francis appoints 3 new auxiliary bishops for the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, including a familiar face. Father Robert Barron is an EWTN regular known for his media ministry, Word on Fire Catholic Ministries. He's now the rector of Mundelein Seminary in the Archdiocese of Chicago. The other appointees are Monsignors Joseph Brennan and David O'Connell. Both are already with the Los Angeles Archdiocese. Pope Francis expresses hope that negotiators at climate talks in Paris will reach an agreement to reduce global warming. Today, Francis addressed about 60 mayors at a Vatican Summit on climate change and human trafficking. New York's mayor says Sandy, the killer superstorm that hit the Northeast 3 years ago, was a wake-up call.
And this tragedy made the people of New York City understand climate change in a very different way. It became personal, it became real, it was no longer an abstraction.
The Pope wants the UN's new Sustainable Development Goals to also address human trafficking and modern-day slavery. New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu joining us from Rome, and you're meeting there with mayors from around the world and church leaders. How do you think church leaders and civic leaders can work together on this climate issue?
Well, I mean, obviously, this is an issue that affects not only the whole world in its global context, but its impact is very, very specific. Certain neighborhoods, you know, across cities around the world. Mayors are responsible for taking ideas and actually implementing them so they affect people's lives. So I see this convergence as being very fortuitous. It's wonderful. The Holy Father was just joyful to be with today, and I think that we have a lot to work with together.
So he talks about human ecology, that is putting the human person at the center of it. How is your city working to try to bring that into what's going on in New Orleans?
Well, essentially what he said was you can't continue to separate science and faith. You can't keep separating policy for some people and policies for others. He said actually the human being is at the center of everything. And so that forces you to reorient your thinking. You're thinking about your policies, how you're encouraging neighborhoods to work together, how you're talking to individuals about how to become resilient. In the context of climate change, we saw with the devastation that Katrina and Rita caused to the people of New Orleans. I mean, we had 500,000 homes were destroyed across the Gulf Coast, and it had an impact on everybody, and it had a disparate impact on the poor. And so he's asking us to just raise our conscious level about those particular issues and think about ways to integrate the policies with the specific proposals and how they affect people on the ground.
Mayor Landrieu, what was it like for you personally to be that close to the Holy Father?
It was really extraordinary. I don't even know how I got here. I think they made a mistake, but it was beautiful to be with him in the room. He's an unbelievable human being. He's got a huge heart. He clearly knows the subject matter that he's talking about. He's given great thought and of course, an unbelievable amount of prayer to this particular issue. And I was thrilled just to be a part of it and look forward to working with him and other folks in making sure the world is a safer and a secure and more peaceful place.
And finally, you had a chance to address the conference. Just give us a snapshot of your message.
I did. I just said, you know, New Orleans is back. We suffered a devastating blow with Katrina and Rita. We are an exhibit of what global climate change looks like. We have to find a way in cities like New Orleans that are close to the coast to really build back, not the way it was before, but the way it should have been if we would have gotten it right the first time. So we have a great responsibility here. We have a great opportunity. And of course, the Pope is encouraging us to make this a human-centered response. And I think that is very well received by the mayors, and we're ready to get to work.
New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu joining us from Rome, where he's meeting with a conference of mayors at the Vatican. We appreciate you joining us, Mayor.
Thank you, Brian. Great being with you.
Coming up, there are now clues about a possible motive for the Chattanooga, Tennessee attack that killed 5 service members. And an Australian surfer throws a punch at a shark and escapes its grasp. The church is called to be ever more attentive and caring toward the weak. A tweet from Pope Francis. Thanks for joining us on Tuesday, July 21st. I'm Brian Patrick. Joining us by Skype from New York City is Anna Halpine. She's founder and CEO of World Youth Alliance, promoting the dignity of the human person at the United Nations. Anna, Pope Francis addresses the UN when he's in New York City in September. He'll push for action on climate change. How does the Laudato Si encyclical frame that issue of ecology and climate change in your view?
Well, it's very clear when you read the encyclical that the Pope is starting from the human person and from there moving on to the environment. So he recognizes that how we understand the human person and that ensuring we understand the dignity of every human person is really going to influence the actions we take on climate.
We hear that Laudato Si is considered revolutionary by some, but isn't there continuity with other popes?
Absolutely. This encyclical references extensively previous works and encyclicals by John Paul II and Benedict. It spends a lot of time talking about Benedict's work on relativism and how a relativistic understanding will undermine any of the work we want to do on solving the world's and environmental problems. And secondly, it focuses a lot on John Paul's understanding of the need to link faith and reason and the need to protect the dignity of the human person as the starting point for the protection of all of creation.
The United Nations and the Catholic Church don't see eye to eye on many key issues, and some people think that the Pope is working with groups like the UN, and they're not real happy with it, but you say that this encyclical is really a critique of the UN. What do you mean?
Well, there are many aspects within the encyclical that criticize extra and overt technocracies, interventions by governments and business that reject the human person, that are focused solely on technocratic solutions. He proposes in that an example of focusing on population control versus actual development, working to support the poor, provide actual economic development as starting points that also respect the environment. So I think we're seeing within this document a real reaffirmation of the Holy See's insistence that the human person is at the center of all development. The protection of the human person from all stages of life is essential to having any additional kind of appropriate understanding of the protection of all of creation and the environment.
So do you expect the Pope to speak out against population control and for life when he addresses the United Nations?
He does clearly in the encyclical, and I think we can expect him to continue that trajectory that his predecessors and he have continually done when he's at the UN.
Anna Halpine with World Youth Alliance joining us from New York. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Investigators may now have hints of a motive in last week's deadly Chattanooga, Tennessee shootings. Police are looking through notes apparently written by the man who killed 4 Marines and a sailor. In notes he apparently wrote a year ago, Mohammed Abdulaziz expressed what authorities describe as anti-American thoughts and opposed the U.S. war on terror. The writings cast more light on a man his family says was suffering from depression and bipolar disorder, who abused drugs and seemed to have trouble holding down a job. 2 years ago, Abdulaziz was fired after just 10 days working as an engineer at this nuclear power plant. 3 months ago, prosecutors charged Abdulaziz with DUI. Police say he had white powder under his nose. But friends say Abdulaziz was inherently good.
He was the most genuine, kind, sweet person.
Who they say opposed the terror group ISIS.
It was a stupid group and it was completely against Islam. And not to even think about going towards them.
Investigators are still looking into Abdulaziz's trip to Jordan last year. His parents told police they sent him to Jordan to get him away from people they say were bad influences. And though there have been no ties found yet to terrorist groups, investigators say they still want to know if Abdulaziz was exposed to radical thought.
He's made a number of trips over to the Middle East, but he came back a changed man from this last trip.
Of course, that investigation continues. And an Australian survivor of a close encounter with a shark Sunday is back home tonight. That near attack was caught on live television. Surfer Mike Fanning says he is thankful to be alive.
To walk away from, a shark attack with not a scratch on you, it's like, it's a miracle, really. I felt so insignificant. Like, the thing was so powerful and was, it just moved so fast, and I was just trying to maneuver my way around it. There wasn't anything that I thought about in present or before it was just something that I just ran on instinct and knew that I just had to try and get away from this thing.
Fanning was competing in South Africa when the shark went for him. He says he threw a punch at the shark and was nearly pulled under before he managed to get away. Up next, a doctor who once aborted babies now delivers hundreds of healthy children each year. And why are these swans being swooped up? It's a royal tradition dating back centuries. This is always a part of a Christian's confidence in bearing witness to the gospel, to protect life with courage and love in all its phases. A life quote from Pope Francis. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday evening. I'm Brian Patrick. Many people are shocked by the recently released videos of the undercover sting of Planned Parenthood. But for one Virginia doctor, that video is not just a personal flashback. It is also a chance to change the culture, one baby at a time. Jason Calvi reports.
Megan Koopman checks out the cheeks she'll soon be squeezing.
Oh wow, chubby cheeks.
Baby Christopher Henry is almost here.
2 weeks feels like forever. I'm like counting down the days to see him.
She's a patient of the Tepeyac Family Center in Virginia.
Hello.
She and her husband have insurance, but about 30% of the patients here are charity cases, often referred by a crisis pregnancy center.
This is a normal exam room at the Tepeyac Center, but if you take a look at exam room number 12, you'll see what makes this place distinctly Catholic, a place to come away and pray.
I love seeing the images on the walls. I mean, just seeing Mary, just like sense of calmness, I guess. I mean, just knowing that the doctors here are really strong about their faith.
But the doctor who founded the center says it wasn't always that way for him.
Well, I used to terminate babies. I used to end them for any reason. Down syndrome, choice, trisomies. And yet those children have something to say to us about our humanity.
He converted, and now his center delivers about 650 babies a year.
These pictures are images of a baby about 2/3 of the way through their pregnancy.
He says he hopes the Planned Parenthood undercover sting will be a wake-up call for others.
The destruction of human life, the abortion, changes our heart, makes us more callous. I know that's what it did to me.
And Megan is thrilled to welcome the baby growing inside her.
Just knowing that there's life inside of me is just awesome.
In Virginia, Jason Calvi, EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you, Jason. Well, July means one thing for swans serenely gliding down Britain's River Thames. By tradition, Queen Elizabeth owns all swans found on Britain's open waters. Once a year, she sends a flotilla of rowboats to count, measure, and check the condition of her flock. The practice of keeping swans goes back more than 1,000 years.
There is evidence that King Edgar, in 966, gave permission of the monks at Croyland in Lincolnshire to own swans, to keep them in their little patch up there. So it does, you know, the royalty side of it goes back many, many years.
It's called swan upping. That name comes from the boats traveling upstream, scooping up swans as they go to make sure that they're well. Well, Prince George is all smiles in this photo released ahead of his second birthday tomorrow. The picture was taken after his younger sister's christening earlier this month. It is part of a series of official photos taken by famed photographer Mario Testino. Kensington Palace says Prince George will spend his birthday privately, hopefully with plenty of friends and family. Until tomorrow, we encourage you to like us on Facebook. We ask you to follow us on Twitter if you can. If you'd like to watch again, you can do so on EWTN's YouTube page. For our EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Brian Patrick. Good night and God bless you.